You'll hear people say this when you're setting a goal, when you're thinking of what you want for your life, be practical, right? But what does it mean to be practical? It means that you have to look at the past, look at the people around you that are in your immediate circle. What have they achieved? What have you achieved in your past? And based on that, let's stay within those parameters and let's set our goal very, very close to all of that, right? And we basically are just living in the past, and we're not allowing our creativity, and we're not allowing for any real type of intentional living. If you've ever felt like you were destined for more, you're in the right place. It's time to break out of the box you've been placed in. The world is waiting for your light. Hey friend, thanks for joining me for another talk. Today, let's discuss intentional living and how to set up a life that's on your terms. A lot of people, they don't necessarily have a lot of dreams or desires for their life because they don't see the how. They don't know how they could get from here to there. If you're used to getting by on $1,000 a month, you're gonna have a really hard time picturing yourself earning $100,000 a month. And in the dreaming about it, even if you do try to dream about it, a lot of times what will happen is you just end up feeling so much worse because you're not seeing the how, so therefore you're not really having a lot of faith that it's a possibility. And because you don't have the faith, it starts to almost hurt to think about it. It can be very hard to wrap yourself around a dream that is of that size. And so for that reason, many people just don't dream. They did at one point when they were young. You see little kids and teenagers. You see how they just get an idea in their head and they don't care about the how. They don't ask about the how. You know, they have no money, they have no ride, and they're just making plans, and they are just dreaming it up and making it happen. And most of the time, they will figure it out. They will find somebody that they can twist their arm and ask and keep asking and keep asking until they figure out a way to get their way. You see this in toddlers, like they'll throw themselves on the floor if they have to. They figure out a way to get their way. But over time, when they're told no so many different times, or they're told stop having these crazy ideas, stop coming over here talking to me about these things that are not possible for us, we don't have this type of money, we don't have these types of resources, we don't have this type of time, and on and on and on. And over time, our minds can get broken. I would call it as a breaking. It's like you break them in, and after a certain period of time, you forget how to play pretend, and you forget how to get creative, and you forget how to ask, and you forget how to have these dreams, and you forget that you could have anything that you want if you just try a whole bunch of different ways to get it, and you stop trying. And so you have a lot of people that go into adulthood, and like this quote from Henry David Thoreau, he says, most people live a life of quiet desperation. And that's sort of what happens, is most people do live that way because they stop believing in their ability, in their creative ability. I recently saw this video that showed adults, and the interviewer asked them, what would you change about your body if there was anything that you could change about your body? And the adults were like, well, I would change my nose, and I would change my hips, and my feet are too big, and they would say all these practical things. And then they asked a bunch of kids, what would you change if you could change anything in your body? And the little kids were like, I'd want to fly like Superman, and I'd want to have a mermaid tail, and I'd want to, they had all these ideas that were like fairy tale like, because for a child, anything could be possible. Anything that they think of in their mind that make believe, they don't yet have that filter to say, no, that's just pretend. That's not realistic. you know? So their scope of imagining or wanting or desiring is so much larger. It has such a bigger scale than for adults, because adults come in with this practicality. Like, be practical. You know, when you're setting your goal, you'll hear people say this. When you're setting a goal, when you're thinking of what you want for your life, be practical, right? But what does it mean to be practical? It means that you have to look at the past, look at the people around you that are in your immediate circle. What have they achieved? What have you achieved in your past? And based on that, let's stay within those parameters and let's set our goal very, very close to all of that, right? And we basically are just living in the past, and we're not allowing our creativity, and we're not allowing for any real type of intentional living. When you really think about, why do certain people get to rocket ship their life and do all of these amazing, incredible things that would completely seem unrealistic to an average person? And how come others don't? And what is that invisible factor? Because you can take a person that's come from wealth, and you can find that they are not doing much with their lives, or that they are unhappy, or you can find someone that comes from wealth that takes those resources and use them to propel themselves even more. And at the same time, you have also people that come from complete poverty, and they are the first person in their family to graduate college. They are their first person in their family to become an entrepreneur. They are the first person that, creates these completely unrealistic things that maybe people in their family were calling them crazy, and that'll never work and that'll never happen, and then it does. So what is that invisible thing? And I think that that invisible thing is your pure ability to use your creative powers to set an intention on what it is exactly that you want your life to look like. Like, if you've been shy your whole entire life, and you are looking around and you're looking at people that are successful, and you're noticing that successful people, they tend to make a lot of connections. They tend to network. They tend to know other people, right? It's not what you know, it's who you know. And a lot of becoming successful is just getting into the right rooms, talking to the right people, so that you get those opportunities presented to yourself. But now, if you were born as a shy person, or if you were forced to become a shy person because of your upbringing, because of the adults in your life, that they made you feel like you weren't allowed to express yourself, or you weren't allowed to be creative or colorful in your expressions. You had to sort of lay down your personality, and you were brought up that way. And now all of a sudden you're an adult, and you're realizing that this shyness isn't serving you. Maybe at one time in your life it did serve you. Maybe it got you through different situations where you needed to be that way, and that was a protective armor. But now you realize that that's no longer serving you. And so you can make a decision that says, I no longer want to be shy. And you can literally learn how to talk to people, how to start conversations, how to be a good listener, how to get invited to things by being the inviter, right? If you want to get invited into more things and be a part of your community, become the inviter, become the initiator. And at first, this might seem like really daunting, because if you've always been very, very shy, that's not going to come naturally to you. You're not the loud one. You're not the first one to strike up things. You're not the host. You feel safer in your own little, in your room and with a book and doing your own thing. And if you honestly, truly feel like that is serving you, then you can continue to be that person. I'm not telling you that you have to change your personality, But if you have the desire to set your life with intention and design the life of your dreams, design a life that you wish to live, and if within that design being shy doesn't fit, or you don't see it that it would help you, you now have the power to make that change. And the way that you make that change is with one single decision. You just decide. Take out a piece of paper and you write a list. And you write a list of all of the things that you wish to be, and all of the things that you wish to do, and all of the things that you wish to have. And you write it out. And in this list, we are not interested in the possibility of it. We are not interested in how many people you know that have done it. We are not interested in how likely it is or how, realistic it is. This is just a list of what you wish in an ideal world and in an ideal lifetime. This is your personal wish. And by doing this, you are setting yourself apart from most of the human population, because most people never do this. Most people never sit down. They never make the plan. They never set the intentions. They never make the dream, because they're set in the past. They're allowing their future to be predicted by the past. But by sitting down and writing out these things and using your imagination, like, can you imagine just for a second, just sitting with your imagination? Like, if anything was possible, and it is, what could I want? What would I want? What would I enjoy? What type of circumstance would I feel joyful in? Where do I live? Who am I surrounded by? What type of income do I have flowing in? What type of cars do I have? What does my wardrobe look like? Who are my friends? What are we doing on the weekends? What are we doing during the week? What are we having for lunch? Like, these things that we might not pay a lot of attention to, but these are the things that make up our lives. And we pay a lot of attention to, like, big things and big events and weddings and showers and engagements and graduations. Those are like the exciting things. Those are the big moments. And we celebrate these big moments. And a lot of people, they have their best years of their life are those years where they're going through all these big moments that are getting celebrated and applauded. And then what happens? You turn 40 and we don't get these big moments anymore. There's only so many milestones that get celebrated, and then after that, it's just you and your little life, that those little things, mundane things. And then going back to that quote, most people live a life of quiet desperation with nothing to be excited about and nothing really in the future to give them this level of excitement where they're jumping out of bed every single morning and things become routine. So if you would allow yourself to sit down with a list and envision and imagine and wonder, what would it be like? What would it be like to have this type of view outside of my window? And what would it be like to have these types of relationships? And what would it be like to have this satisfaction every day? Because I know that I'm living the life that I want to be living, and nobody else designed it for me. I designed it for myself. What would that be like? And that is the starting point. Because when you start asking those questions and you start making those lists and putting yourself in that space mentally, you start to change the connections in your brain. And the thing about the brain is it doesn't really know the difference between what's real and what's not. So when we sit and we think about the past, which one could argue that the past is not real, because the past is just something that's a memory in your head. We choose to say the story and repeat the memory in the way that we remember it, in the specific specific aspects of that time that we chose to focus on, that we chose to remember, that we choose to repeat. So when you take a story, a situation that happened, there's got to be millions or billions of bits of information of that time period, of that story. And out of all those billions of bits of information and moments of time and things that were said and words that were said and gestures that were made and all of what went into that specific time period, we take a couple of hundred of bits of information, maybe, and we pull that and we carry that through. So we take a story and we create it in our heads. We create it, we repeat it, and then we are recreating a very small fraction of the whole. Okay? So, and this is what we take, this story that we tell, and we take that into our present moment, and now we're living this past that we are retelling in the present. And many times we are putting ourselves in that emotional space from that time period, what we felt or what we think we felt, and we are just repeating that over and over on repeat. And the thing about our brain is that it only knows the present now. We're not designed to know what's in the future and truly the full gamut of the past. We only pull these fractions of these situations and we carry them through and we bring them into our present. And so now in our present moment, when we're reliving these things, we're putting ourselves in the situation of stress and we're carrying these feelings day by day by day by day. But now what if instead of doing that, what if instead of carrying these maybe hurtful things, because a lot of times we do tend to hold hurtful memories, and we repeat them and we talk about them and we hold them. But what if instead of that, what if we actually created the future that we wish to create? And what if we started talking about that and analyzing that and thinking about that? So we're taking these aspects that we would love to see, that we would love to explore, that we would love to see more of, or maybe see for the first time ever. If you've never experienced this type of fulfillment in your life, maybe this is something that's brand new. And what if we actually drew out, wrote out, thought about, daydreamed on, talked about, discussed, just sat with and imagined this future, right? This future that we wish to see. And now our brain doesn't know the difference. Our brain doesn't know. So when we're thinking about the future and we're thinking about the past, the chemicals that are released in our brain are the same. So we get to create what we want our brain to do for us. If we want our brain to hit us with happy chemicals and we want it to hit us with this excitement and with this energy and all of these elevated sorts of emotions, we just need to think about those types of things that will cause us to feel that certain way. Imagine that your girlfriend broke up with you, right? Imagine as a guy, like your girlfriend broke up with you and you're laying on your couch for 2 weeks and you're just eating takeout and your whole apartment is a complete mess because you're depressed and you're laying around and you have no energy. You have zero energy to move your body and you're sad and depressed and you miss your girlfriend. And now all of a sudden your girlfriend calls you and she says, I've made a huge mistake. I miss you. I want to get back together. And I'm in your neighborhood and I'm going to be at your place in 15 minutes. And what happens with your energy level in that moment? You are instantly elevated. You are instantly jumping up to your feet, cleaning your place, taking a quick shower, getting yourself ready, getting everything tidied up and thrown out and together and everything, and your energy level has all of a sudden gone from floor rock bottom to all of a sudden you're up here and you're full of energy running around and getting it all done. Why does that happen? So nothing has changed physically, right, with your body. The only thing that has changed is a thought, a knowing, an understanding. You went from knowing that you're alone, that you don't have your girlfriend, to now she's back in my life, she's on her way, I'm excited, and I can't wait to see her, and I can't wait to enjoy this evening, the rest of this evening, right? But nothing physically has changed. The only thing that has changed are the thoughts in your head. And this is how it works with everything. Energy and happiness, it's not something that you can generate from the outside. It's something that lays dormant within you all the time. And you either awaken it or you don't, and it lays there dormant, and it lays there waiting to be awakened. But I can tell you this, when you start making those lists and you start writing out the intentions for your life, the intentions for your personality, the intentions for what you wish to experience and who you wish to experience these things with, when you start writing these things out on a piece of paper, the entire universe begins to conspire in your favor. Everything begins changing around you. The divine is on your side, and it wants to work with you, and it wants you to have your way. It wants you to grow and expand. Everything in nature grows and expands. Everything. If it's not growing and expanding, it's dying. If you look at plants, you look at animals, you look at an egg, everything that's planted, a seed that's planted in the ground, it has only one intention, and that is to expand and grow. If you've ever put a plant in a pot that's too small, and you see the roots, they get real contorted in there because there's not enough room for them to go. And then what happens to the plant? The same thing. The plant starts to get windy and weird because the roots aren't expanding, and so the top of the plant isn't able to expand either. And then if you replant that plant and put it into a different pot, all of a sudden you give the roots room, then the top of the plant also grows and expands. And that's how it is in nature. Everything wants to move, expand, and grow. The idea is not to stop the dream. The idea is to continue dreaming, but you have to put the faith behind it. So when you draw out your lists and you write out the things that you want, and you give yourself time and permission to daydream and just think about these things. And I'm not telling you to know how you're going to do it or when you're going to do it. All you have to know is what it is that you want. That's all. And then you want to put yourself into a mode of allowing things to conspire in your favor. Allow those roots to go and grow through, because they will. Once you put those dreams and ideas and goals into a larger pot, which writing all this stuff out is exactly that. And once you put it there, it will find its way. So it's not your job to figure out how, it's just your job to figure out what. And give it to the divine. Put it in God's hands. You say, this is the things that I want. Thank you, because it's already done, basically. Once you write it out, it's already done. So you put it out there, you write it out, you say thank you. And I know that you remember a time when the life that you're living right now and the things that you have in your life right now currently, you once dreamt about, you once thought about, you once prayed about. And here you are living those things. So you've done it then, you can do it again. And when you write it out and you say thank you, and I know that it is in God's hands, and I no longer have to hold on to it so tightly because I already put it out there, the divine is conspiring and everything is moving in my favor for the expansion of my life, because that is what I am designed to do. That is what the universe wants to do. Now I know that I am in a state of expansion, and the universe is behind me because it is also 100% in a state of expansion. I want to know what your lists are. Write them out. Let me know if you do it. And if it feels good when you're writing it out and it feels good just to think about it and sit in it, then you know you're in the right direction. Because that's the whole purpose behind our emotions. When something feels good, you know you're in the direction of expansion. When something feels bad, you're constricting yourself. You're in a state of resistance. It's supposed to feel good. It's supposed to feel expansive. And it's supposed to feel like joy. That is the purpose of it all. Joy and expansion.